Hi everyone, this is Selina. Welcome back to one of my videos. I hope you're well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Selina and I release a crochet tutorial every week. And this week I'm bringing to you this beautiful baby blanket. So it's been a long time since I've released a baby blanket pattern and tutorial, so I'm really excited about this. It's a vintage crochet blanket. I absolutely adore it. As always, the free pattern will be available on my blog, selinaveronique.com, with plenty of pictures and and everything else as always. So the links will be in the down bar. And this is a vintage crochet blanket. It is a granny square design, as you can see, and then the border is a single crochet, quite a thick single crochet border with a shell edging, and I absolutely adore it. So for this project I used Bernat Softy Baby yarn. I absolutely adore this yarn. I will be linking it in the down bar with the exact names of the colours that I used. I did use two colours because I do find that once you finished your blanket in a specific shade, in this case it's light yellow, and then you add a cream border, it just gives it that vintage elevated look that I absolutely adore. So I always tend to create a cream shade kind of border. So for this I did use two skeins of the yellow shade. However, you can see I've still got quite a bit left from the second skein, and I only needed half of a skein of the cream shade. So this is called Antique White, the cream shade, and I think this is called light yellow, but I will be writing all of this down on my blog and in the down bar. So I also used two different crochet hooks. I used a 4.5mm crochet hook for the granny square part, and then I used a 5mm crochet hook for the border. The reason for this is that I found that the single crochet border tended to create a very tight stitch, and so I decided to undo all of the border when I was doing the prototype and recreate it with a larger hook, because I just found that even though my gauge is quite loose, so I originally have a very quite loose gauge, I did find that placing row after row of single crochets just tightened the project. So I went up a half size hook, so from a 4.5mm crochet hook to a 5mm crochet hook for the border. However, if you have a tight gauge, I recommend going up to a 5.5mm crochet hook. All of this will be written down on the written pattern, and obviously I will be going through this again in the actual tutorial, but it's just a bit of a heads up. I also used a pair of scissors and a tapestry needle. So I also wrote my pattern on this printable. So these printables are available on my Patreon. I've just opened my Patreon page and I'm really overwhelmed by all the love and positivity. So thank you so much for everyone who's already subscribed and supporting me on Patreon. I will leave a link in the down bar if you are interested in supporting me in that way. It's a great place with lots of extra feminine crochet content, and it's also a great place to connect in a safe and positive way. So yeah, so without further ado, I'm gonna jump into the tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, because that really helps me out. And I will be talking in US terms with British terms in brackets. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump into the tutorial. So to begin this tutorial, you will be making a slip knot. So just go ahead and make a slip knot, like so. Once you've made your slip knot, pop your hook through and gently tighten. And so to begin your granny square, you will be chaining 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Once you've chained 4, you will be slip stitching into the first chain that you created, like so. And this creates a circle into which we will be crocheting. So now that you've done that, you will be chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3, and this counts as our first double crochet. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be working inside this center from going forward, and we are going to be fastening in this loose end as we go. So now just wrap, so now we are going to be placing 2 more double crochets inside this center, and so to create your double crochet, you will be wrapping your yarn around your hook and going into the center, pull up your yarn, and you have 3 loops on your hook. Take your yarn and pull through 2 loops, and take your yarn and pull through 2 loops, and this creates a double crochet. Now we are going to be making another double crochet, so just go ahead and do that, and this creates a cluster of 3 double crochets, and this is the beginning of this first round. So now chain 2, 1 and 2, go back into that center and place 3 double crochets. So just place a cluster of 3 double crochets inside that center, and as you can see, we are fastening in that loose end as we go. So 3, this is what we have. Now chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back with 3 double crochets into this center. So 1, 2, 3, and now we have, as you can see, 3 clusters. Now to finish off this round, chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back with a cluster of 3 double crochets inside that center. So 1, 2 and 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, and now to close off this round, we are going to go into the 3rd chain that we chained at the beginning and slip stitch. So just go through that 3rd chain at the top and slip stitch to close off this round. And this is the first round of our granny square. So as you can see, I'm just going to take my hook out just because it will be easier. So as you can see, we've got 4 clusters of 3 double crochets, and they are all separated with a chain 2, and this creates the corners. So this will make sense as we go along. But so now for round 2, you are going to be chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3, and this counts as our first double crochet. And what you are going to be doing now is turning your work, and the reason why we are turning our work, and we will be turning our work at every round, is that because if you don't turn your work whilst you are making a granny square, it does tend to look a bit twisted. So turning your work just enables this pattern to stay supple and straight. So I hope this is making sense, but I don't know if you've ever seen a photograph of a granny square where the person hasn't turned it at every row, and it does tend to look a bit wonky and weird. So just turn your work at every round, and I think it's a lot easier. Also, like, the pattern makes a lot more sense when you turn it round, but that's just me. So we've turned it round. This is our chain 3, so the first double crochet. What you are going to be doing is going back into this center, so this chain 2 space, which is a corner, and place 2 double crochets inside that corner. So just go ahead and place 2 double crochets inside that center. And now chain 2, 1 and 2. And so because this counts as our first double crochet, this is a cluster of 3 double crochets. Go back into that space with 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. And this is what it looks like. And this is a corner, so I'll be going over this again as we go along, but just so you know, each corner going forward will be a cluster of 3, chain 2, cluster of 3. Now we are going to be going directly into the next chain 2 space from the previous row, so just go directly into that with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back into that center because this, not center, go back into that space because obviously this is a corner also. So just go back with 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, this creates our granny square shape. So again, we've got this cluster of 3, chain 2, cluster of 3. Now go directly into the next space and place 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And again, this is a cluster of 3, chain 2, 3. And now go in directly into the next chain space from the previous row and place 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 2, and 3. And this is our last stitches and also a corner, as you can see, that we've just created. And we're just going to close off this round by slip stitching into the chain 3 at the beginning. So just go ahead and slip stitch at the top of that to close off round. And this is what we have. So this is what we have for round 2, and as you can see, this granny square is looking a lot like a granny square. So what's happened is that we now have not only corners like here and here, where we always place a cluster of 3, chain 2, a cluster of 3, but we also have simple spaces at the sides, and these are going to grow as the granny square grows, where we will be placing just simple clusters of 3 double crochets, but this will make sense as we carry on this pattern. So this is round 2 and the granny square is growing. So now for the next round we are going to be chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. So this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and this is a what I will call a simple space. So that's where we will be placing a simple cluster of 3 double crochets. So just place 2 more double crochets into this stitch. So 1 and 2. And obviously because the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, this is a cluster of 3 double crochets, and because this is a side stitch, I don't know if that's the name, but it's one of those non-corner stitches, a simple cluster of 3 double crochets is what is needed. And as the granny square is going to grow, you will have more and more simple clusters. So I hope that makes sense, and less corners, because obviously with it being a square you will only have 4 corners no matter what. So just bear that in mind. So as the granny square grows, these simple stitches, spaces, just clusters of 3 double crochets will grow, but we will still always have only 4 corners. So I hope I'm making sense. So now, obviously this is a small granny square, so we can't tell for now, but this will make sense as you go along. So now we're directly going to go into the next space, and this is the corner. So as always, place 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, and place another cluster of 3, 1, 2, and 3, because obviously this is a corner, so it's always the same. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, go directly into the next stitch here, which is a simple cluster. So just go in with 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Now go into the next space, which is a corner, with 3, 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. So this is what we have, and now we have a simple a cluster of 3, 1, 2, and 3. And now go into the next space, which is also a corner, with 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and go into the next space with a cluster of 3, 1, 2, and 3, and go into the next space with a cluster of 3, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and we finished this this round. And so to finish off this round, just go into that top stitch here as always to slip stitch it closed. And as you can see, as the granny square is growing, so are the side simple stitches spaces. So these are these spaces where we will be placing just clusters of 3 double crochets. So as you can see, these are going to grow as the granny square grows, and the corners obviously are just going to stay the same, 4 corners throughout. So I hope this is making sense. This is very easy. I am going to show you the next round, but if you do need extra help for this granny square, you can just rewind this video. It's a very simple process, or you can check out my blog where the free pattern is written down. Obviously this will be linked in the down bar. Okay, now so for round 4 you are going to be chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3. Turn your work like so, and now place 2 more double crochets within this same space. So 1 and 2, and this creates a cluster of 3 double crochets. So obviously we've just reached the corner, and now you are going to be placing 3 double crochets, of course. So 2, 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, and place 3 more double crochets within that corner space, as always in a corner. And now we've reached the side stitches. I don't know if they're called the side stitches, but anyways, so as you can see, this is growing. So in the next chain space from the previous row, just place a cluster of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and another cluster of 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, and go into the corner space and place 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back with 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, and now obviously we've got simple spaces, so just go ahead into the next space and place 3 double crochets, so 2 and 3, and into the next space 1, 2, 3, and then in the corner you will be placing 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then in the next space 3 double crochets on their own, 3 double crochets on their own, and then in the corner 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and in the next space a simple cluster of 3. So I'm just going to let you carry this round off, and then I'll meet you back to show you what to do next. Okay, so I've almost finished this round. As you can see, I'm simply going to slip stitch to the chain 3 that we did, so slip stitch through that to close off round, and this is what we have. So as I said previously, the side stitches are growing like here, and then obviously the corners are staying the same, obviously 4 corners, so it's easy to do the granny square. Okay, so I will be letting you carry this pattern on. It's super simple, so obviously for the next round I am going to explain it briefly, but it will be a brief explanation. So chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, turn your work and place 2 more double crochets in that space to create a cluster. Into the next space just place a cluster of 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, and into the next space place a cluster of 3, chain 2, 3 double crochets, because this is a corner, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and in the next spaces, so this space, that space and that space, you will be placing clusters of 3 double crochets. Then at the corner chain 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then simple clusters of 3 double crochets, and then in the corners, as always, your corner stitches, and so on and so forth. And then when you reach the beginning, you will simply be slip stitching, and that is how our granny square is going to grow. So I hope that makes sense. So it's a really simple pattern, it's really easy to understand. If you need more help with this part of the project, just head to my blog selinaveronique.com. I will be linking the exact pattern in the description box, and also you can also rewind this video. So I hope this was clear. So I'm just going to let you carry this on until you reach 25 rows in total. You can, however, make more rows. I will be writing down on my blog the exact measurements of this project, just so that you know how much it measures. So as I said, you could make it bigger than what I've done. That's completely up to you, and this pattern is completely adaptable. So I did 25 rows before I started on the border. So I'm just going to let you carry this on, and I'm just going to show you the border. Okay, so to finish off your granny square, you are simply going to snip off your yarn and pull through this, pull through this stitch. Obviously, I'm just going to turn this to make this easier. So there we go. Pull it through, and this is what we have. Okay, so now that we've fastened off, I'm just going to show you how to create your border. So I'm going to attach my yarn, my cream yarn, to the same stitch that we fastened off, just because I'm going to be working on tying in the loose ends as we go. This is completely optional, but I just think it gives a neater finish. Okay, so now that we've attached the cream yarn, we are going to be switching up hooks. So I'm going to be switching to my 5mm crochet hook. And that is because, like I said in the introduction, I found that the single crochet rows just tightened the project. I have a very loose gauge, so I went up a half size. So I went up from a 4.5mm crochet hook to a 5mm crochet hook. However, if you have a tight gauge, I would recommend going up to a 5.5mm crochet hook. That's entirely up to you, but I did find that it kind of looks nicer with a looser gauge, and I think that's really because single crochets tend to be very tight, and that when you create row after row, it just gives that tight look, and I just thought it looked nicer looser. So with your bigger hook, just go into that stitch and chain one, and this is a turning chain, so it doesn't count as a stitch. And what we are going to be doing is placing a single crochet back into that stitch. So just go back into that stitch. To create your single crochet, just pull up a loop. That's 2 loops on your hook, and just go through the 2 loops, and that creates a single crochet. Go into the next stitch with a single crochet, and into the next stitch, and like I say, try and have a loose gauge, so just place another single crochet into the next stitch and into the next stitch, and like I said, try to not tighten the stitches as you go, just to give it a nicer look. So now we've reached the corner, and in the corner I am simply going to be placing 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 and 2, 1 single crochet into that corner space, and then 1 single crochet into each single crochet into each stitch across. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. So yeah, just go ahead and do that, and like I said, try and have quite a loose gauge, and I'll just let you carry this on. So place a single crochet into each and every stitch, and once you reach the corners, just place 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet, and then I'll meet you back to show you how to finish off this round. Okay, so I've gone round all the stitches and I've reached the beginning. So I am going to finish off this round by slip stitching through the first single crochet that we did, and this is what this looks like for now. So now that we've slip stitched, we are going to create the second row of single crochet. So chain 1 and go back into that same stitch with a single crochet like we did in the last row, and just place a single crochet into each single crochet from the previous row, just like we did in the previous row. So it's a very easy thing, like border, to crochet. It's really not difficult, so just go into each and every stitch. Okay, so I've reached the corner and it's going to be the exact same thing as prior. 1 single crochet, chain 2, 1 single crochet into the corner, and now I'm just going to go into each and every single crochet from the previous row to place a single crochet into that. So I'm just going to let you carry this on until you reach the beginning, and then once you reach the beginning, just slip stitch to the first single crochet that we made, so sorry, so just carry this row on, and then what you are going to be doing is adding 4 more rows of single crochets to this border. So we will have 6 rows of single crochets for this border. So I'm not going to go through the whole 6 rows because obviously it's the exact same thing. Just repeat that same row over and over until you have 6 rows of single crochets in total, and then I'll meet you back to show you the rest of the pattern. Again, I'm just going to remind you to keep a loose gauge as you go along because you don't want this project to tighten too much, and I'll meet you back to show you the shell stitch edging. Okay, so now that I've finished this row, obviously you will have 6 rows, but I'm not gonna make those 6 rows just for the point of making them, if that makes sense, because obviously this is just a sample. So I've just got my 2 rows, but you should have 6 rows, and the principle is the exact same. So for the last I've been saying row, but I mean round, but anyways, it's the same thing. So for the last round of this project, which is the shell stitch round, you will be chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3. So this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and what we are going to be doing is working 4 more double crochets within that first stitch here. So just go back in that same stitch and place 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is our first shell, and it comprises 5 double crochets because obviously the chain 3 here counts as a double crochet. So you have 5 double crochets in 1 shell stitch. What you are going to be doing is skipping 1, 2 stitches and going into that 3rd stitch here with a single crochet. So single crochet into that stitch, skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with 5 double crochets. So place 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 double crochets into that stitch. Okay, so now that you have 5 double crochets in that stitch, skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with a single crochet. And as you can see, we've reached the corner. So I've just placed my single crochet into this stitch, and as you can see, we've reached the corner, but the corner's not going to be changing anything about this pattern. We are still going to be skipping 2 stitches. So in this case, I think it's the 2 chains at the center. So skip 1 and 2 and go into the next stitch with 5 double crochets. So just go ahead and create your 5 double crochet cluster in that stitch, 4 and 5. Skip 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and go into the next with a single crochet. Skip 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and go into the next with 5 double crochets. So I hope this is making sense. 2, 3, 4 and 5, and skip 1 and 2 and go into the next with a single crochet. So this pattern is very easy, it's very simple to understand. It is 5 double crochet, skip 2 stitches, 1 single crochet, skip 2 stitches, 5 double crochets, skip 2 stitches, place a single crochet, skip 2 stitches, 5 double crochets, skip 2 stitches, 1 single crochet, skip 2 stitches, 5 double crochets, skip 2 stitches, 1 single crochet. Again, you can also check out the written pattern if you need more help. Skip 1 and 2, go into the next with 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, skip 2 stitches and go into the next with a single crochet, skip 2 stitches and go into the next with 5 double crochets. So it's very easy. I'm just going to let you carry this on until you reach the end of this row. Again, like I said, the fact that that there are corners doesn't change anything about the pattern. So just carry this on until you reach the end of this row, and then the end of this round, sorry, and then I'll get back to show you how to finish off this round. Okay, so I've almost reached the end of this round, and I've just placed my last single crochet here. I've got 2 stitches I am going to skip, and what I am going to do is link this this part of the project to like slip stitch to finish off this round. So what I am going to do is locate that chain 3 from the beginning of the row. So 1, 2, 3, chain 3 here from the beginning, and I'm going to go into that 3rd chain here and slip stitch to close off this round. And the reason why I'm doing it like this is to give it that neat look like this. So just close off this round like so, snip off your yarn and pull through and tie a knot, and this is how you finish off this project. So this is what it looks like. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. Obviously the blanket is much larger, but I absolutely love this design. Actually, this sample would make a perfect plant, like not a coaster, but to place. I'm French, I apologize, so I don't, sometimes the vocabulary in English just eludes me, but I'm thinking of a little plant pot decoration to put under it. So anyways, so thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Again, I really appreciate your support. Don't forget to check out my Instagram, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to like the video and comment, that really helps me out. And also don't forget to check out my Patreon, which is a haven of feminine crochet. So much stuff is going on my Patreon it's very affordable. So if you want to join our community of like-minded crocheters, just head over there. All the links will be in the down bar. So in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.